Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 127 of the Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. This episode is about being grateful that you are wired for survival. We do whatever we have to do to survive. And then once we have survived, there's a tendency to feel bad, ashamed, upset about the methods we chose to survive. I'm seeing this happen with more than one person. Some of them are in the Loving Me Sugar-Free course, which I won't be offering again, but it is going to be available in a one-on-one package. If you're on the website, it's thatmichellewolf.com/human design. Down at the very bottom is the one-on-one package. But so many problems with addiction come from trauma. We know this, right? Trauma. Oh. Here's how a lot of information comes to me. I pass out in the evening. It's uncontrollable. I cannot keep my eyes open. And then I wake up at like 9 o'clock. And here comes all this information. And my brain is like, are we sleeping? Are we channeling? Are we making a podcast episode? What the fuck is happening here? So we know that addiction comes from trauma. It is not a moral issue. It is not a you don't have enough willpower. It is mechanical, biological. I am less and less believing that it is a disease in a medical sense. I know this might get me in trouble. I almost don't know if I want to. Do I want to go here? I think we have understood it to be a disease. Let me say it this way. I think our new growing understanding is it is a response to trauma that never got healed. If you break your arm and it doesn't get set properly, let's say you break your hand in such a way that because it doesn't heal properly, it doesn't function right. You can't close your hand, or maybe you can't do like fine motor tasks with your hand. It can be all kinds of things can go wrong if people really break their hands and a hand and it doesn't heal right? Because there's all these little teeny tiny bones and ligaments, and our hands are really incredible marvels of nature. We take them for granted, of course, but if you really think about it, your hands, not even enough to say about how cool they are. So you break your hand, that's a trauma. It doesn't heal correctly. That's an ongoing issue. But is that a disease? Or is it a continued experience of consequences of trauma that does get worse over time if it's not ever taken care of? So using this same analogy, you break your hand, it doesn't heal properly. You don't have physical therapy, rehabilitation. So instead of your hand recovering and getting better and better and eventually being maybe fully restored, or at least mostly restored, and the original trauma is taken care of, instead, the trauma happens, it doesn't heal correctly, you don't have physical therapy, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Until eventually you may not be able to use it at all. In my mind, that's not a disease. It's an unhealed injury. So just something to consider when we're thinking about how so many of us are wired. Well, we're all human beings are wired for survival, but some of us experienced our survival through substances, right? Does that make us have a disease of addiction? I don't know. I don't think so. The shame around addiction, because we aren't understanding that it's an unhealed trauma. It's a broken hand that never got healed properly and now is problematic, to say the least. It has led some people to feel so helpless. Like, oh, I can't. I mean, that's part of people's AA works. Like, it's evidence based. It works. It works if you work it, is no joke. But a lot of people struggle with the 12-step programs because there's a sense of this is great and it's good, and also it's not quite it. It's not, this is like the next step, right? You can still use the 12 steps. Honest to God, I mean, I never went through it personally, but I took, if you're new, I used to work with kids who were struggling with addiction, and several times a week I had to cart them all over to an AA or an NA meeting, and I was really struck by how the 12 steps are excellent rules for life, things that if you go through them, because I did, because I was taking the kids, and I have a rule that I don't make people experience things that I'm not willing to experience. So I took myself through the 12 steps, and it was really profound, and I got a lot out of it. And also, there's a little sense of something off. Maybe this is the something off. That it's not a chronic progressive disease in a medical sense. It's an unhealed wound that just gets worse and worse over time because it's not healed. If you don't treat a broken hand, it gets worse and worse over time. If you treat it, it recovers. And there is a point in time where the initial injury is no longer a problem. It's not a thing. So with sugar addiction, we're treating it that same way. And what we were talking about in that group over the weekend, or maybe it was, I don't remember, it doesn't matter. That's a detail, who cares? The subject came up of being wired for survival. If we don't understand we have unhealed injuries, and we're treating the ways that we survived as something to be ashamed of, we're not going to get that injury healed. Now, you're not broken. If you break your hand, you don't think, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a broken person. You think, oh, fuck, I broke my hand. Oh, no, now what am I going to do? Right? So you break your heart at a young age, and you do what you can do to survive it, and that doesn't make you a broken person. It means you have an injury, and for most people it's more than one. It's repetitive injuries, and none of them ever heal properly, and before you know it, you got a problem you got to deal with. But you're wired to survive. And substances are readily available. And they fucking work. They work really, really well. Sugar, alcohol, weed, heroin, meth, chocolate, carbohydrates to the extreme, binge eating, not eating. These things work. They help you not feel. Because in the moment of the trauma, whether that is overt trauma like physical, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, it's obvious trauma, or sometimes worse, the covert trauma, the gaslighting that happens to children, the emotional manipulation, the tug of war between parents fighting over children. The things you can't see are almost harder to heal, right? Because they're not, someone's been sexually abused. Oh, ain't no arguing that one. That's a problem. That's a trauma. And we have ways of dealing with that. But that manipulative, kind of fucked up undercurrent stuff, that's harder to handle. For whatever was happening for you, whether society would define it as a trauma or not is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is you experience something or a series of somethings that overwhelmed you to the point you could not deal with it. Not because you were weak or some sort of pansy, but because you were a little kid. Because your nervous system was immature. It could not handle the influx of the chemicals that come from traumatic events. Overt or covert events. Every nervous system is wired to respond to stress differently. I've said this lots of times. It's common knowledge, really, in the therapy field. I shouldn't say that's common knowledge, right? In some circles, it's common knowledge. But when you have different kids in a family who all experience the same event, every single one of them has a different response to it because every single one of them has a different body and a different nervous system and a different expression of the DNA soup that they had to pick from. Okay, so you can't rely on other people's definition of what was traumatic for you because nobody knows that but you. When, particularly in our culture, addiction, whether it's food addiction, sugar, or alcohol or whatever, for years and years and who knows how long, we've treated that as an issue of like a character flaw. And that's still very prevalent. There's so much shame around it. But here's what I want you to consider. You picked up alcohol or pot or food, eating too much food or eating too much sugar to survive. And I'd like you to consider celebrating that. Fuck what society says. You can't let that matter to you. What other people's perceptions of it cannot, you don't have time for that shit. We've got stuff to do. You've got gifts to express into the world. You don't have time to be fucking around worrying about other people's opinions. All right, so we're just going to focus on you and what you think. How about you celebrate that there was sugar available to you, and at 4 years old or 3 or 5 or whenever, you figured out, because you're smart as fuck, that if you eat this, if you put this stuff in your mouth, you feel better. And you're able to stay alive. If you were 8 years old when you figured out your family's liquor cabinet was a source of relief and solace and comfort and peace for you, celebrate. You might be here today because you figured out you could sneak vodka and live. You may be here today struggling with a weight problem and an addiction problem and all the fucking consequences that come with that. You know what I say to that? Hallelujah, Jesus. Thank you, baby Jesus, that you found the Oreos, that you found the tequila, that you found your parents' weed stash, that you sunk yourself into so many books that you could go numb so you could survive. I'm so happy that you're still here. And whatever it took for you to be here today, let's be grateful for that. Chocolate cupcakes kept you alive? Amen. Drinking too much kept you alive? Well, I'm so glad of it. Smoking pot for 20 years means you're still here today? Yay. Celebrate. So much gratitude that you were so smart and so clever that you figured out how to make it. You made it. You lived through it. You got through it. Now it's okay to be angry that you had to, that things got so shitty that you had to do those things, which are destructive. You didn't have any options. It wasn't like you could say at 4 years old, I'm feeling traumatized by what you just did to me, and I believe I need to go to therapy so that this doesn't get any worse. In the same sense that you would say, excuse me, parent, I was fucking around in the barn and I broke my hand. Now I must visit the emergency room. Please and thank you. You made it. Can we just take a moment to acknowledge the strength it took to survive? And how good it is that you found a tool that you could use to grow up that didn't kill you before you could grow up. This is the tragedy about some drugs, opiates in particular. They kill you before you can wake up to go, oh, I don't actually need this anymore. I made it. I'm good. I got through it. I'm alive now. Let me deal with the original injuries and, restore my hand, air quote, to full functioning and then see what I want to do with my life. Unfortunately, some of those drugs kill you before you can get there. That's the sad, sad, tragic piece of that. With sugar and alcohol, you have a little more time to grow up, to recognize that this shit ain't working for me. This shit, my smart self figured out, these tools I grabbed and survived with, they ain't working for me now, and I need to do something different. It takes so much courage to let go of the tools that kept you alive, because all the stuff, it's like you press the pause button, right? And all that stuff, the movie starts playing again. It's not like you get to go, oh, cognitively, it's easy to get. I had an injury. There was donuts available. Donuts took care of turning down. I didn't have to feel the pain anymore. I survived, period, the end. Yeah, we all know it doesn't work like that. So the donuts or the daiquiris pressed, or the dank, whatever you picked up, press the pause button on the movie of your life, right? You sort of went into limbo, kind of a stasis. Parts of you were sort of put on ice. You iced yourself. I promise not to sing Ice Ice Baby in this moment, although it's very tempting. Okay, I'm not going to do it, I promise. But now you have to go back and press play on the movie, and you don't get to use your tools because you don't need them anymore. You think you need them because your nervous system still thinks it's 5 years old. But it's not. It's 50, 55, 40, 70. Your nervous system is not 5 years old anymore. If you're 5 years old and listen to this podcast, you need to turn it off now and go watch TV or go outside and play. But there's a part of you that's still in pause mode. Okay, so you think about it, you got to go back in time, press the play button, and experience all those backed up feelings, which can happen very quickly. It's intense, but it can be done. You might not be able to do it on your own. You might need a little help and support. You might need a lot of help and support, depending on how much you've got, how big your backlog is. And think about it, your nervous system is not prepared. It still thinks it's 5. So you have to do a little bit of emotional exploration and release at a time, a little bit. And then you're going to run for your tool, probably. But be glad of that. Be honest about it. Okay, I have done what I can do for today. I have felt enough fear for today. Now I'm driving down to Krispy Kreme, and I hope the hot donut sign is on. Right? In the beginning, that may be what you have to do. That's what I had to do. Speaking of which, for those of you who've been so supportive, I only have about 25 pounds left to be at where I'm the most comfortable. But it's been a journey, a journey of more than one time of going back, pressing play, experiencing as much emotions as I was capable of, and then shutting it off when I couldn't take it anymore. Because all these things have to happen, right? You have to experience those physical sensations that we talked about. Was it the last podcast? The physicality of prayer. I think this has been an ongoing theme for the last several episodes. So, it's like getting in a cold swimming pool, or if you've ever had frostbite, and I hope you never have because it's extremely painful. You have to put your hands in water, and it's so painful, and you have to snatch your hands out, and you have to do it again. I got frostbitten fingers once, and even just talking about it makes my hands itch. It's super painful, but you got to do it. And you don't have to heal these things, right? You don't have to do what I'm talking about. You can just keep on eating your donuts, but be honest with yourself about it, that you are shortening your life. You are making it harder to be physical, and don't beat yourself up about that. Be honest about it. Radical honesty is the only way that I know of to move through this whole big package of a process. Got to be honest with yourself. I have felt all the things that I am capable of feeling today. I am going to get a donut box. Nobody eats just one donut if you have a problem. Be honest about that too. How many are you eating? How much are you eating? Notice the shame around that, and flip it on its head. Hey, this worked for me when I was 5. Now it's not working now when I'm older. But that's okay. I'm so glad I had it, that I've gotten to this point, and I'm awake and aware enough now that I can go through this process. I can ask for help if I need it. I can start being real damn honest with myself and others. No more sneak eating. You can't wait till everybody goes to bed and then binge in front of the freezer. Or whatever sneaky shit y'all are doing. You gotta quit that. Everything that you want is on the other side. And it's a journey, and it is a day by day. It's a moment by moment. Where am I at? What am I feeling? What am I avoiding feeling? Where am I lying to myself? Where am I lying to others? Where am I fooling myself and rationalizing? Where am I still relying on the tools that I had to survive from when I was a child, and I'm not a child anymore? And that's okay, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. I actually am going to celebrate that I'm still alive today because of you fill in the blank for whatever it was for you. You're still alive today because you found a way, because you are wired for survival. You found a way, you clever person, you wonderful, powerful being. You found a way to make it through. You found a way or ways to stay alive. So when you feel bad about recognizing you modulate your emotions through a substance that you ingest or inhale, say thank you instead of shaming yourself. Oh gosh, This has worked for me for such a long time, and now I'm even kind of sad. A lot of people go through grief. I'm sad to say goodbye to my donut friend, or your Tanqueray friend. Whoever your little friend is that's not a friend. And you have to let go of that, because it's really like the wild, wild west, right? It's a new frontier. You don't know how to be in your 40s and be awake without the tools. You don't know. You have to recognize that you made it. You have to, go, oh my God, I don't have to do this anymore. I can find a way out. But oh shit, it's hard not to do this anymore. And there's a whole process you get to go through. And don't think you're going to do this in 8 weeks. You can get the tools in 8 weeks. But this is going to take a while. And it is part of our human journey, is to experience being in a body that feels, that churns emotions all day, every day. It's part of why we're here. It's part of why we signed up. To experience physicality, which is not puppies and kittens and lollipops and rainbows. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Life is going to be painful. Just be honest about it. Ouch, this shit hurts. Oh my God, it's hard to stay here with this hurty stuff. Ouch, my heart hurts. Ouch, I feel insecure. Ouch, I'm scared. Ow, ow, ow. Right? But in the mix of the ow, 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 we have the moments of love. We have those moments of expansion. We have those puppies and kittens and lollipops and rainbow moments. Mixed in with the steaming pile of garbage dumpster fire moments. Right? So we can train ourselves, when we train ourselves to deal with the steaming pile of shit dumpster fire moments, then our puppies, kittens, lollipops, and rainbow moments are so much more intense, because we can be with them in a different way. We can feel that flood of joy when you're going to get to talk to someone that just makes you happy just because them being them. Isn't it nice to consider going beyond a mental concept of joy to a full body expression of joy and anticipation, that you're going to laugh, you're going to have a good time, it's going to feel great, and you're going to feel great for hours after. It's different. It's more intense than any drug. Drugs are like a poor facsimile. That's a hard word to say. Facsimile. Well, now it sounds like completely wrong. Let's say substitute. A poor substitute for the full body intensity of joy. And to be honest, that's new for me, because I've been on this journey for the last several years of really making myself feel things. Definitely not for the faint of heart, y'all. And none of y'all listening to this are faint of heart. There's no way. You wouldn't be in my field. You wouldn't be hearing my voice right now if you were not incredibly brave and courageous. I don't care if you want to argue with me about that. I won't argue with you about it, because I already know. I know what I know. You wouldn't be resonating with me and hearing this if you weren't already brave. If you didn't already do some things to survive that you now feel bad about. And I'm telling you, if you need a permission slip, you can treat it that way, although I ain't your mama, so I can't give you a permission slip. But you can lean on my faith. You can lean on my belief in you that you are to be applauded and celebrated for surviving whatever you had to do. And that you can put those tools down and you can grow up your nervous system and you can experience joy literally from head to toe. You can feel life force flowing through you so that you really feel like a live wire. You can not overcome it. You can integrate it and heal and grow your capacity to hold discomfort, to tolerate discomfort. Discomfort ain't going away. Life is a series of painful and joyful. It's not going to go away. So you're not doing this. There's a misperception we've all gone through, and hopefully you're waking up from it. Oh, I'm going to do all this work, and then I'm never going to be unhappy again. Well, I hate to burst your bubble there, beautiful dreamer, but that's not how it goes. Well, how it goes is you understand that there is no ranking system. If you feel bad, you feel bad. If you feel good, you feel good. You just feel. Bad doesn't need to be fought against. And in fact, when you fight against it, you're going to make it last longer. Happiness can't be gripped onto. And if you try to grip onto it, you're going to make yourself miserable faster. This is basic Buddhism 101. Impermanence. You're happy, you're sad, you're happy, you're sad, you're happy, you're sad. You're in love, you're disappointed. You're angry, you're joyful. You're forgiving, you're compassionate, you're a bitch, you're a twat waffle. Like, it's just all the things. And then you die. Oops. So get used to that concept. But that doesn't matter when your nervous system can handle it, because you catch it, you let yourself feel it, you don't fuck around and fight with yourself about it, and it just rolls right on through, and right behind it is a puppy kitten lollipop rainbow moment. You just let that dumpster fire burn on through you. You don't fight it anymore, so you're not exhausted anymore, because you just let yourself be your damn human self with no apology, full honesty, complete acceptance, compassionate curiosity, and do you not want that? I want that. I want that. I want it. I want it enough that I'll walk through the fire to get it. And I won't let anyone stop me. And I want that for you. And I want you to be like, I am not beating myself up ever again over all the things that I had to do to survive. I'm going to celebrate that I had tools. I grabbed onto them for dear life. I'm still alive. Now I have choices. Now I can be responsible and make different decisions. Now I have the freedom to be sovereign. Now I can be free. To be as powerful as I want to be. To be as embodied and, oh man, to be as big a radiant light and contained in a physical body as you want to be. You can be as massive, radiant as you want to be. You can be a football stadium light. You can be a teeny candle in the darkness. You can be whatever you want to be. And it just starts with reframing. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm so glad you found the sugar bowl, or the liquor cabinet, or the bong, or the books. A lot of people don't recognize that they're hiding in books. And a lot of us got through childhood with obsessive reading. Saved my life. I actually wrote to some of the, when I got older, I wrote to some of the authors whose books I read over and over again. And a couple of them wrote back, and it was like, oh my God, such a fangirl moment. Piers Anthony wrote me back, and I was like, oh my God, my life is complete. And then Marion Zimmer Bradley wrote me back too, which I was thrilled about. And then I found out what a horrible person she was. And I'm still in conflict over it. I can't remember. The last time I ran across her letter, which was written right before she died, I can't remember if I burned it. I remember feeling really conflicted about whether to keep it or not. Anyway, I'm never going to talk about that on a podcast episode because it is too gross and we don't need to waste our time with it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Anti-Google is out there for you. So no more shame, no more lying, no more self-recrimination, no more beating yourself up bullshit. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. You were wired for survival. Be grateful. And then go from there. I never lie to my clients. I always tell them, well, I don't lie to anybody, but I always tell my clients I won't sugarcoat it and I won't lie to you. If I think if I think you're doing something against what you say you want to do, I'm going to tell you about it. I'll try to be nice about it. Sometimes people can't hear you when you're nice. So I have to be a little bit more direct. But unvarnished truth, it really does set you free. You might be like, ooh, that's ouchy in the moment. So I'll just throw that in there as a caveat, like, don't come work with me. I won't play games with you. Because we don't have time. You're needed out here. And I don't fuck around, and I don't want you to fuck around either. We're not going to do the fuck around and find out game. So I will throw a insert commercial here that Forest Reiki proceeds are still going to Ukraine. Whatever the accumulated total at the end of the month is, I will send it and then I'll post publicly how much was sent. Right now we have 150. I have a workshop coming up called Forest Fractals. It's on my Facebook page, facebook.com/11. It's public. You can see it. You don't have to friend me. You can friend me, but you don't have to. You can see it. And then I do always encourage you to get a Human Design Foundation session because it really will change your life. And if these things that we're talking about here are something you struggle with, that is the best way I know of for us to see exactly where you need to start your work. Immediately, right after the session. And they're live. I meet in person. I don't send printed reports and leave you to figure it out on your own. There's a free Facebook group if you can't afford a reading right now. Practical Human Design for Success on Facebook. You can find that. All kinds of free stuff and expensive stuff. One-on-one coaching is the most expensive thing. But a Human Design Foundation's reading is $222 for now, but when planethumandesign.com goes live, that will be going up to $247, I think. I'm not going up a whole lot, but I am going up a little bit. So right now, thatmichellewolf.com/human design. The Forest Fractals class does not have a sales page because it's only $55. And if I don't have to write a sales page, I can keep the price lower. Okay, that's all the commercial now. All right, honey bunnies. See what you think. Do your best to reframe it. Do your best to get more and more and more honest with yourself. Just label what you're doing. When you feel the hot flush of shame or guilt or self-recrimination, you just stop that. You just stop it. And you say, you know what? We ain't playing this game no more. We were here. We survived. We can make a different choice in every single moment. Every moment is another chance to start it all again. What is that quote? I love that movie, Vanilla Sky. And I really like Tom Cruise that much. But Vanilla Sky, every moment is another chance to turn it all around. Every breath you take is another chance to make another decision. Every breath every inhale, every exhale. I promise I will not sing the Police song. Okay, no, I'm not going to do it. Every breath. Okay, I want to sing it so bad. Every breath you take. No kidding, though. Think about that. Every inhale, every exhale, you have a chance to do it all. You have a chance to turn it all around. And then it's going to turn around the other way. And then you're going to have to turn it all around. Right? It's never ending. That's all right. It's all right. It's all okay. We're going to be okay. Okay, I'm going to stop here till we talk again. Think less, feel more. And I'll talk to you later.